way people lose control is when you're asked questions, you answer questions, and it ends up going down the wrong path. So here's what we have to remember. The answer to every question before they see a presentation is the next step of the system. No matter where they're at in the process, if they ask a question, we have to think about where we're at in our system. Building the list, contacting, sharing the presentation, or answering questions. So notice how answering questions should always come after the presentation, because then they've got the ability to process the information and ask legitimate questions. So here's what I mean by this. Someone says to you after you've contacted them with excitement, they're curious now because you're enthusiastic. They say, well, how much does it cost? The answer to that question has to be the next step of the system, which is the presentation. Hey, John, great question. Listen, we'd like it to cost you nothing, but it's not going to make sense till we get together. This thing's 90% visual. How about we grab a cup of coffee tomorrow, leave your checkbook at home, and let me take you through the information. See how I converted the question, put them at ease to stay in control. I learned a long time ago, the quickest way to allow people to want to be comfortable with whatever it is you're sharing is you got to go ahead and give them permission to say no. Give them permission to be calm. And in this process, I answered a question. Hey, what is it that you're selling? Hey, John, listen, great question. And I want to get you all the answers, but it's 90% visual. Let's get together. Leave your checkbook at home, and let me just get you some details. Now, that's just one example. I'm going to give you a PDF here, again, at the Now You Know University in the resource section that will give you some more examples of this. And, of course, you probably got the book Now You Know, so there's some definite examples in that. But realize I'm not trying to teach you every sentence to say here. I'm trying to teach the principle of the answer to every question is the next step of the system. You have to answer the question in a way that doesn't give details, but converts it to the next step, which is where they can get the details. Because remember, if they don't see what you're sharing in its entirety, they only see bits and pieces, nothing you say is going to make sense to them, and they're going to reject it before you ever get a chance to show it to them. That's how we lose control. Now, I want to jump to a couple more final thoughts here, because we lose control in other ways as well. We also lose control when we do a great job of setting an appointment, we do a great job of sharing a presentation, and then we find out we didn't have the decision makers in the room. We spoke to one spouse and not the other. We spoke to the man and we realized that it was his wife that's really going to make the final decision, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter which way. We have to make sure that we are sitting down with decision makers. And I'm going to tell you one quick thing here today that will help you stay in control in this situation, because you're going to get good at the first impression. You follow what's taught in Now You Know University, you're going to get great at this. But here's what we're talking about here. You don't want to be great and then set yourself up for failure by not having the decision maker in the room. Here's what I'm going to recommend. When you're setting the appointment with someone that, whether you know them well or not, if they're married, they're in a situation where you're wondering whether or not this is going to be an effective presentation, go ahead and ask this question. Hey, John, do you think your wife needs to be with us for you to be able to make a final decision if you liked what you saw? Or, hey, Sally, do you think John needs to be with us? I mean, if you like what you saw here and you wanted to participate, would you need his permission, or would you want him to be involved in that decision? If so, let's make sure we set a time for both of you to get together. Hey, we'll take you out to dinner, or come over to the house tomorrow at 7 p.m. together rather than separately. I'm going to recommend you get good at it. There's lots of different ways to do it, but think about, am I sharing this with a party that then is going to get excited and have to go share it with someone else, or say to me, oh, I need to go home and talk to John about it, or I need to go home and talk to Sally about it? Because if you do that, now you've given up control. Remember, this is the law of staying in control. If they have to get permission from someone else, you're going to end up giving up control of your destiny to someone that doesn't even know how to share what it is that they just saw.